Hello and welcome to Back to the Science. I'm Dr. Susan Oliver and I'm a scientist, and this is Cindy Oliver and she's a dog. Now, before I start, I just want to warn you that there are going to be some distressing images and video footage in this video. So if you are squeamish, please don't watch. So, a story has been spreading on social media as well as certain media outlets about a young lady who is claiming to have a severe vaccine injury. The evidence says otherwise. This is how my good friend Steve Kirsch described it. Breaking, forced to get 3 vaccines to receive medical care. 23-year-old Alexis Lorenze is now fighting for her life. No vax, no care. So she had to get 3 vaccines. Within 10 minutes, she was blind in both eyes. She's now fighting for her life. Doctors are baffled as to the cause, since it can't be the vaccines. Before, after, any questions? Now, besides her name and age, pretty much everything Steve has written here is incorrect. She didn't get 3 vaccines. She was receiving medical care. She isn't blind. Doctors aren't baffled. And she was already fighting for her life when she was admitted to hospital, although she may not have realised this. But more on all that later. I want to show you another picture first. These are some images of another lady experiencing a similar reaction. But this lady hadn't just had a vaccine. She has a disease called Paroxysmal Nocturnal Haemoglobinuria, or PNH for short. Plus she had a parvovirus B19 infection. It just so happens that Miss Lorenze also has PNH and a parvovirus B19 infection. And we know this because her medical records were shared with her permission. So, what is PNH? I'm going to give you a very simplified layman's explanation, and I'm obviously a layman when it comes to this disease. PNH is a rare condition where there is an acquired genetic mutation in some of the stem cells that make blood cells in the bone marrow. This mutation means that certain proteins aren't added to the surface of the blood cells. And because the proteins aren't there, it means that blood cells are vulnerable to being destroyed by complement, which is part of the immune system. This leaves people with PNH vulnerable to a number of conditions, including headaches, trouble breathing, blood clots, abdominal or back pain, dark urine, bruising and bleeding, frequent infections, rapid heartbeat, fatigue and weakness, and it can also lead to bone marrow failure. There are now treatments for PNH known as complement inhibitors. By inhibiting complement, they stop it destroying the blood cells. In the era before complement inhibitor treatment, 50% of patients with PNH died as a result of their disease. A study done in 2011 after the approval of Soliris, which was the first complement inhibitor, showed improved survival in the patients treated with it. In fact, no mortalities were seen in the patients who started Soliris before 50 years of age. Miss Lorenze chose not to get complement inhibitor treatment when she was diagnosed with PNH because she didn't want to take the necessary vaccines.
I suffer from a blood disorder called PNH. I was diagnosed in January. They've been trying to get me to take the meningitis vaccine since January, and I just had a feeling I shouldn't.
Now, you may be wondering why meningococcal vaccination is necessary prior to treatment with complement inhibitors. Treatment with complement inhibitors leaves you 2,000 times more vulnerable to meningococcal disease, which can be fatal. Therefore, if you're not willing to be vaccinated, you can't get complement inhibitor treatment. You can still get other forms of treatment, though, like blood and platelet transfusions. And she did get these after she was admitted to hospital, contrary to what some media outlets are claiming. When she was admitted to hospital, her hemoglobin level was 3.1 grams per decilitre. Levels less than 6.5 grams per decilitre are considered life-threatening. But the blood transfusion she was given got her hemoglobin above this critical level, although still not high enough. Now, you may be thinking just because her condition is entirely consistent with her having PNH complicated by parvovirus infection, it doesn't mean that's the cause. It could just be some weird coincidence, and it was really the vaccines. So let's look at that. Here's a short clip of her explaining what happened to her. And by the way, this is a more recent video of her than the previous video, and you can see she's looking much better, which is wonderful.
Literally within 10 minutes, my body started feeling, or right away from one shot, my arm started hurting. And I told them my arm hurts. And she goes, oh, that's normal. Everybody's arm hurts a little bit. I had the tetanus shot in 7th grade because it's mandatory. And I remember my arm hurt just a little bit, and then it went away after a few minutes. So I thought everything was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kept hurting. And then they continued doing the 2 other vaccines. And like I said, within 10 minutes, I started throwing up, like a lot, like profusely, just throwing up. My nose started bleeding. I started coughing up blood as well. I started shaking a lot. My arms hurt. And then the biggest symptom or scare to me was I started going blind. I started seeing spots in my eyes, and out of nowhere, I couldn't see for like 15 minutes. I was completely blind. It was terrifying. And I was freaking out, and they were like, oh, it's okay. They kind of brushed off the symptoms and didn't get a doctor. The nurse just kind of stood there, and my sister's freaking out, and I'm like, I'm going blind, I can't see. And they're just kind of standing there like watching. So it was odd, very scary. And then I think about within 30 minutes or maybe 20, 30 minutes, I started seeing little red, like little pimple. 10 minutes. Was it within 10 minutes? Okay.
Within 10, wow.
Know that it was actually within that 10 minutes also that I started having little red dots that looked like little pimples almost on my forehead here. And within 20 to 30 minutes, it just kept getting darker and darker and darker. And within 3 hours of that night, it was big purple patches. And my head just kept blowing up within those 3 days.
Now, there are 2 types of reactions that can occur within 10 minutes of a vaccine. The first is a vasovagal reaction. This occurs when stimulation of the vagus nerve causes symptoms such as nausea, dizziness, fainting, cold, clammy skin, and blurred or tunnel vision. This isn't directly related to the vaccine, but it can be a reaction to having a needle stuck in you. There are also many other causes, including stress. The important thing to know about this type of reaction is it's self-limiting and it's not life-threatening at all. Some of the symptoms that she describes are consistent with this, and it would also explain why none of the medical staff appeared to her to be concerned. The other type of reaction that can occur within 10 minutes of a vaccine is a type 1 sensitivity reaction, otherwise known as anaphylaxis. She didn't have this. Now, there is a type of immune reaction that could potentially lead to the type of skin appearance that she has, but this is a type 2 sensitivity reaction, and it occurs in hours to days after the triggering event. She says in the video that her sister saw red dots on her borrowed within 10 minutes. So this couldn't be a type 2 reaction. And also it's possible that she had some red dots prior to the vaccine in areas that weren't immediately visible, but that might not be the case. Okay, so the timing isn't consistent with it being a vaccine reaction. That's not all. Her blood results that Steve Kirsch kindly shared are also inconsistent with it being a vaccine reaction. Her platelet levels were already really low prior to her receiving the vaccine, and they were still dropping despite her receiving platelet transfusions. And they didn't really change following vaccination. If the vaccine had caused the reaction, they would have been at normal levels prior to the vaccine and then dropped after she was vaccinated. Her elevated D dimer levels are also evidence that she was showing signs of clotting prior to the vaccination. But what about all that swelling?
They keep putting these things called platelets in me, which I need. So we've done them. We've done 4 transfusions and my body is not taking them in. They said my platelets levels are staying the same. So I don't understand why we keep doing them, especially if I get puffier every single time.
Okay, so even she isn't claiming the swelling is from the vaccines. And she has confirmed that the platelets weren't helping her enough, which would have made the complement inhibitor even more important. But why did they give her 3 vaccines all at once? The simple answer is they didn't. They gave her the 2 meningococcal vaccines that were necessary for her to receive her complement inhibitor treatment.
That your doctor had said that she had given these vaccines to the previous 10 patients. Are you saying that for the last 10 patients, she gave the exact 3 same vaccines all given at once to all 10 of those patients?
That I don't know the exact answer to because, like I said, she told me that I only received 2 meningitis vaccines. But the lady who was ordered to give me the shots read the bottles, like literally read the shots to me and my sister out loud, and it was meningitis, pneumonia, and tetanus.
It appears that her and her sister may have misunderstood what they were being told by the nurse giving her the 2 vaccines. One of the options for the meningococcal ACWNY vaccine contains the polysaccharide antigens conjugated to a tetanus toxoid protein carrier. So that could explain part of the confusion. There are also several different versions of the story about the vaccines that she supposedly got, including this strange one from Steve Kirsch, where he seems to be suggesting that she got the Menhibrix vaccine. Only problem with that suggestion is that that particular vaccine was discontinued in 2016 due to low demand. It makes the most sense that she got the 2 meningococcal vaccines that her doctor says she got, which just happen to be the vaccines that are necessary in order to receive treatment. Oh, and just in case you're wondering about the role of the COVID vaccine in this.
No, I didn't do the COVID vaccine. I refused.
Let's see who shows they haven't watched the video by bringing up COVID vaccines in the comments. Anyway, I hope she continues to do well on her treatment. It's sad that her case has been seized upon by anti-vaxxers to spread fear. If you know any parents of children who have been scared by these claims, please share this video with them. If you'd like to look further into the data I've presented, I provided links in the video's description. And please remember, this video is about the science, but you shouldn't take it as medical advice. For that, you should speak to your medical practitioner. If you've got this far, thank you for listening. And if you've liked, shared, or commented on the video, double thank you, because that helps the algorithm and means that more people will see the video. And of course, thank you to everyone who has bought me a coffee or little Cindy here a treat. We really appreciate your support. We will be continuing to make videos about the science in the future. So if you'd like to join the cool kids and stay informed, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you.